Welcome to the Lay Under Bet Sports Betting Show. NBA Sunday here. Got 9 games on the slate. 2 of them tip really early. So going to go ahead and go through 7 of them with you guys. And I've got a bunch of early looks here on the card already. Also got the live show at 4:30 p.m. Eastern today. Going to be going a little bit earlier than normal because we missed Saturday. So apologies. I had a rough Saturday yesterday. Couldn't get too much down on the card. Only one pick. Struggled on Friday. So we're coming back today with a vengeance. So if that all sounds good, give this video a like. Make sure to sub to that page. And let's get right into it. As always, going to be using Props Madness here on the show, the #1 tool for sports betting research in the NBA. If you do want to try this out, use code LYB. You'll get yourself 7 free days to see if it's worth it for you. And then you also get 25% off your first month if you're interested. So like I said, one-stop shop right here. Don't really need much else besides Props Madness when you're doing your NBA sports betting research. Let's go ahead and skip over the first few games here. We got some early games. The Bulls and Pacers still got some stuff coming out on the injury report as I'm recording. So let's go ahead and just go right to Magic and Raptors. I am looking back at Wendell Carter Jr., and this is still a lean for me. I'm not yet ready to bet on the 8.5 because I think we might get 7.5 before this game tips off. But what I'm looking at for Wendell Carter Jr. here is that when he plays with Franz and with Paolo, he gets more boards. That's really what his job is at this point. And if you look at him in the games where he's played at least 25 minutes, and we'll give him 25 to about 32 minutes because I think that's around what his range is reasonable to expect tonight here against the Raptors. If you give him 25 to about 32, that's where I put his ceiling. You're looking at 10 boards per game, over in 10 of 14 when he's playing with Fraulo. And you can even see the other games here, 7, 7, and 6. So he's getting close. One bad game against the Bugs here, the Nuggets, when they lost by 22. So not going to hold that against him. But in the games where they're playing legit defense against teams that aren't total powerhouses on offense, like the Toronto Raptors, you see Wendell Carter Jr. pick up a lot more boards. He's had a good couple games against them this season as well. I believe he was missing a couple players here and there, but still the fact that he had 17 rebound chances in 30 minutes, missing Franz Wagner in the second matchup there, but in the first one had nobody there and still did better. In 18 minutes had 15 rebound chances. So he does really well against this team. Not a good rebounding team for the Raptors here. They're 16th overall, but I don't think they're going to have much Jakob Poeltl, who still seems to be on a minutes restriction. And so we know that Wendell Carter Jr. has really just assumed the starting center role for the Magic, and we don't really need to worry about him getting fewer than about 26, 27 minutes anymore. So feeling really good about his ability to rebound in this game. If we get 7.5, this is a hit. Even at about -130, -135, 7.5 is a great number here for Wendell. I got to wait on the 8.5. We'll definitely be going over that on the live show if we can't get 7.5 by then. A couple looks here for the Knicks and the Heat, and I'm starting with Bam, and we got to fade the big man in this one. I'm going to go under on the PRA, and this is going up a little bit, which is great. We can probably get this at about 34.5 now on the PRA. So if you can get that, anything like BetMGM's offered -125 for the under 34.5. I think this number just got like at least 2 points too high. I think this should be at about 31.5 for Bam in a really tough matchup. If you look at the Knicks head and similar players against them as of late, centers that are getting their points, really everybody not struggling here. Jokic, Sabonis had the one good game there with 25, and then Embiid 13. Adebayo had 11 the last time these teams faced. They held Jokic to 17 and 22, and even just centers in general. Not many big center games here. Even these greens are like 14, 12 points, and Bam needs a few more than that in this one. I believe he's at about 16.5. 19.5, excuse me. It's just way too high. And the rebounds are really what I love as an under as well. If we get this at 10.5, it's an under by itself. But the PRA, I mean, the Knicks are giving up the second fewest points, rebounds per game, rather, to centers. They're in the top 10, limiting points and assists to the position. And if you look at Bam in these games here, even if you just go to the PRA, even if you take him and take, let's say we put Jimmy Butler out, obviously he's not around anymore, and we give him Tyler Hero in the game, he's looking at about 32.8 on the season in these situations that he's going to be in today, where he's with Hero without Butler, and he's still not really able to get there. Plus, we have a tough matchup against the Knicks. Like I said, this should be about 31.5, and there's 34.5 hanging around. I would even take this under at 33.5 PRA for Bam. I know a lot of you in the VIP Discord are not going to be appreciative of Mikal Bridges being brought up here, but 14.5, we've gotten too far. We've just gone too far the other way with Mikal, who's had a few bad games here. I mean, he had 15 against the Grizzlies, not great. 7 for 14 shooting, missed all of his threes, right? Good game against the Sixers, and then a few bad games in a row here, but I'm totally fine at 14.5. This number's just too low, right? He butted up against it, against two way better defenses in the Celtics and the Cavs than the Heat, and the Heat give up just as much spot up shooting as anybody, right? 23rd limiting points to the spot up shooter here, which is always what you look at for Mikal. They're bad in the corners. Mikal is one of the guys playing down further below the break rather than above the 3-point break here. He's below it in the corner, making 24% of his points from corner threes, which is always going to be good against the Heat defense that gives up a ton in the corners. So this is a great matchup. It's 14.5. I know we got to bank on him to make shots because he's not really getting to the free throw line. So there's not going to be any free points coming from Mikal, but I think 14.5 is too much. You saw him go for 17 against them last time with everybody available, and he took 16 shots. So I think he's still good for about 13 to 15 shots in this game, and that should get us over the 14.5 points, which is just too low for him on the season. He's doing that way too often. As we move on here to the Spurs and the Thunder, go ahead and give that video a like if you're getting anything out of what we're doing here. It goes a long way to support the channel, so much appreciated. And like I said, 4:30 p.m. Eastern today. It's Sunday, but normally we do this on the weekends on Saturday. Missed yesterday, so giving you guys a shot to get back into the live show. Bring your bets and jump in the comments. We'll go over that stuff together, and I do have a special guest on the show as well. Daft Previews is going to be joining us, so you're going to get a couple extra looks from him as well. Hopefully see you guys there in just a little bit, but let's get to D Fox because I got to go under again on his PRA. We did this last game against the Rockets. We went under real nicely, and now we've got another similar defense to the Rockets in the Thunder here, who don't give up a ton of points. They are the number 1 defense in the league, and they also are number 2 at limiting how De'Aaron Fox scores, transition and isolation, and the pick and roll ball handler. This is defense rated number 1, 2, 4 in those exact play types. As you can see here, one of the best benefits of Props Madness, being able to see how a player scores their points and how a defense limits that exact type of play. And you can see there's just nothing available here. They're the number 1 defense limiting stuff in this corner. Number 1 defense limiting mid-range, number 2 defense limiting above the break, 3rd best defense inside the 5 feet. Like, this is just going to be too tough for him in a situation where he doesn't have enough help, right? Like, if he had Wemby here, maybe I'd be a little bit more hesitant to go under on D Fox when he's got the help around him. But even in these last few games without Wemby, went off against the Pistons, went off against the Suns. Other than that, he's not getting 31, maybe even get this to 32.5 PRA. Not sure, but I'd be going under 31.5 here on D Fox against the Thunder, the best defense in the league. Getting down to Jazz and Pellies, not necessarily the best basketball game as far as talent on the court, because everybody's out for the Jazz and a lot of folks out for the Pellies. But most importantly for us, it is an Isaiah Collier day. Finally, again, we can comfortably come back to Isaiah, and I think we should be taking his PRA. I think we just take the whole kit and caboodle here. When you see who's out for this Jazz team, right? If you look at the injury report, no Markkanen, no Collins, no Sexton, no Clarkson, no Kessler. So this is the Keontae George, Isaiah Collier show, maybe with some Filipowski and some Bryce Sensabaugh in there as well. I do think we're going to continue to see Sensabaugh, Filipowski in the starting lineup alongside Kenyon Martin and Isaiah Collier, and then we'll have Keontae George coming off the bench. So whenever we get Keontae George numbers, really like that for him, as he's going to be going up against guys like Jordan Hawkins and other guys on the bench that I think he'll be able to handle. So the first look here is just Isaiah Collier over PRA because he's available. When Keontae George gets there, great. Otherwise, what we're looking at here for Isaiah Collier, I mean, there's not that much in terms of examples of games where he's playing without Markkanen, Collins, Sexton, Clarkson, Kessler. I don't know if there's one game where he's played without all those guys. Let's remove one guy here, see if we get anything better. Like Kessler, he's played a few more games with, but it's too tough. Like they're not going to have anybody. And if you look at the PRA for him in these situations, he's at about 24. But I think most importantly, we look at this through the lens of the minutes rather than who's not available. And if you give Isaiah Collier 30 plus minutes, right, this season he's played 30 plus in 16 games this season, gone over the PRA in 11 of them, averaging 27. So not a huge disparity here between 25.5 and 27, but I do think he's good for 28 to 30 PRA tonight. The games in which he's done that against teams looking like the Warriors, he had a really good game, but then the Pellies, he had 34. He had 26 against the Pellies. In those games, he wasn't even missing everybody, just a lot of guys, which is what we're facing again as the Jazz continue to try to tank when they're playing against teams that aren't that good. Right? Like the Pellies, they can't play all their players because if they do, they might win. So they're trying to lose, but they're going to play Collier at least 30. I think we project him for like 33 minutes in this game. And this goes up a little bit, back up to 28, over in 7 of 10. Just a really good hit rate for a guy who's going to be playing against a really bad defense for a lot of minutes. So love Isaiah Collier to get it all in this game. On the other side, my favorite bet so far for the Pellies is going back to Kelly O overs, which is something that we haven't done very much on this show over the past year. We've often faded Kelly Olynyk, but now he's starting at center. And even in the games where he started at center with Zion playing, you can see here he's played 4 games with the Pellies. First game did not start, 24 minutes, not a great game. And then he gets in the starting lineup. 25 minutes, 24 rebound chances against the Spurs, 16 in 23 minutes against the Spurs, and then he had 11 rebound chances and 7 boards in 27 minutes against the Suns. And the fact that he went over against the Suns, who shoot a ton of jump shots, wiped out the Pelicans by 17 without Zion or CJ McCollum, and now we're going to have a much closer game against a worse Jazz team without everybody available for the Jazz. This is going to be a much closer game that the Pellies honestly should win. Don't know that I would ever take them to win, but they should with the amount of talent they have on the floor. And Kelly O is out there to do one thing, which is get rebounds and to a degree assist, but not so much when you have Zion hogging the ball. And these are now up at 3.5. These were at like 1.5 when he started playing with the Pellies, so it was worth it. But now we're still getting a ton of value on the rebounds because that's going to be his job when he's out there. And it's going to be him against Filipowski, some Bryce Sensabaugh, not a good rebounder, undersized Kenyon Martin at power forward. There's going to be a lot of opportunities for both Olynyk and Missy to dominate the boards here. I do expect a big game from those bigs on the boards against a weak Utah team. Got to skip over the Lakers and Clippers rematch here as Luka and LeBron are both questionable. So we'll look at that one on the live show instead. But for this game, first bet I got to go right to is Ant in this one against Phoenix. He's coming off of the suspension, so he missed their last game, which I believe they lost. I know they played already against the Jazz, but they lost by 1 to the Jazz, who did have a few players out there. But Ant now coming back after the suspension because of getting too many technicals. They need this game for the standings. We've only got like 25-ish games left in the season, not even. And this team needs to win to avoid the play-in if they can, but at least to make the play-in. So I'm going to take him to score a ton of points. That's really what it is. Ant is at 26.5. This is going to go up to 27.5. There's no doubt about it. There's already a couple of 27.5s hanging around, but you can still get 26.5 for Ant against a Suns team that is horrible. Now, he had 24 in the first one. Not a good, didn't really get that involved in the first game. Had everybody still there, Julius Randle and Dante DiVincenzo, and everybody was still healthy. Now we're going to be seeing him play without a bunch of those guys. And in this one specifically, that he scored 33, yes, he was missing Naz Reid, and yes, he was missing Dante DiVincenzo in that one. But now we're talking about missing Rudy and few other guys. And we've obviously just seen him try to take over here in these bunch of games before. He had a bad game against the best defense in the league. Once again, OKC. Naz Reid did all the work in that one. And then the Lakers, just a bad game again. Got the technical, everything wrong with him, right? Punted the ball into the stands, whatever. But now we're coming back, and a guy who's averaging 27 on the season in a great matchup against the Suns, who give up everything above the break. They give up the third most points to pick and roll ball handlers. They give up the most points off of pull-up shooting, but now they also give up like the 5th most points off of catch and shoot shooting. So however you want to score against Phoenix, it's going to be available to you. And when he gets down into the paint here, you see Phoenix ranked 11th limiting points at the rim. That's now 30th or 28th since Nick Richards got there. They've been fluctuating between 3rd worst and worst defense at the rim since Nick Richards got there. So above the break threes are available for Ant. The driving to the rim and dunking on people is available to Ant. And if you look at him in his history versus this team, obviously went crazy against them in the playoffs after a rough regular season. And I just think this is going to be the same type of situation against the Phoenix team that gave up. So happy to take a very high number for Ant at 26.5. But like I said, it's not even higher than his season average. And I think he's going to be good for another 22 plus shots in this game. All right, hope to see you guys here in a few hours on the live show, 4:30 p.m. Eastern. We're going live today on Sunday to make up for yesterday. Normally don't do this stuff on Sunday, but hope to see you guys in there. Bring your bets and jump in the comments, and Daft Previews and myself will be going over all that stuff with you guys, including the bets that we have down on our card, which I don't have anything yet down. I just want to get this episode out, and now we're about to put all these bets into the VIP. Talk about that more on the live. So until I see y'all then, happy betting.